Welcome to this Understanding Smart Process Automations demonstration by Interface. I am Andy, Head of Customer Success at Interface. We are Bitrix24 Gold Partners providing implementation, customization, training and support. Today I will show you how you can set up a smart process automation and just explain how they work within Bitrix. What features that you can enable within a smart process automation and how they can link to other entities inside the CRM. So let's jump into Bitrix and head to the smart process automation area within the CRM. I'm currently in the CRM in the left-hand menu, and my smart process automation is in the top menu. You may find it under More, and then you'll see the smart process automation here. So to get started, you just need to click on the Create button, and then you'll be presented with three options. Now, these three options aren't critical because essentially what these do is check the checkboxes on the next page. So I'll click on All Options Selected, and then first of all, what we want to do is give our SPA a name. So I'm going to call it license. We'll call it licenses. And then we want to determine what we would like to activate. So would you like pipelines and sales funnels within your SPA? So you might be familiar with them inside deals. So in a deal, we can have multiple pipelines and we can also have funnels. So I'm going to keep this enabled. Do you want stages and a Kanban view within your SPA? Again, pretty much like deals, you have stages that you work through and you can view the entities in a Kanban. So again, I'm going to keep this one enabled. Automation rules are pretty important if you do have stages and the Kanban enabled, as it will allow you to trigger automation rules off when you move the entity through the different stages. Workflow Designer is enabled if you would like some more complex automations. So if the automation tool doesn't provide you with the items that you need, then the Workflow Designer tool gives you a little bit of an extra comprehensive access to the automation / business process tools itself. So we're going to keep this one enabled. And then do you want to make the SPA public for everybody on the system to start off with? We can change that through CRM permissions later, but we'll leave that one enabled. Then what do we want to do? So we can have access to some of the standard library fields that exist inside the CRM already. So company details gives us access to the company details field. The source gives us access to the global source field. So you might be using source in leads. You can use the same field inside the SPA tool as well. I'm going to deselect these two. I don't need it in my sense. Customer is really important because if you ever want to use the communication tools such as email, such as telephone, then you always need to bind your SPA item to a customer. What that also gives you the ability to do is when you keep customer selected, the tab appears inside the company record and inside the contact record. And I'll explain a little bit more about that at the end of this demonstration. So if we take off start date and end date, and I don't want observers, so again, you might be familiar with these two fields inside deals and inside leads. Do we want to generate PDF documents? So the document tool within Bitrix where you can upload a template and generate a document. Keep this enabled if you do. If you want a monetary value associated to the deal itself, to the SPA itself, then you should keep bind to catalog products enabled. This will give you the amount and currency field. And also, if you've got the Kanban selected, then it will also give you a monetary value figure at the top of each Kanban. Now, if you didn't want that, then you can deselect, and that 0 at the top of each Kanban will no longer be present. You can use a recycle bin and also use counters. These two I will keep on. Finally, the bind to CRM is really important if you want this SPA to appear in the entity that you select. So for example, what we can do is, first of all, it gives us the first option. Select the CRM entities you want to link to this SPA. So it might be that I want to select for me to be able to click on the deal. And if I want this SPA to appear in the deal as well, then I will select Add Linked Items List to Details form and select Deal. That will mean that I will be able to select a deal when I create this SPA item. And it will also mean that I will be able to select the SPA item when I'm inside the deal in this case. So these two options are available. If you want to bind it to any other CRM entities, then you can click on here and this option will give you any other CRM entities that don't appear in the first option in here. Now I'm going to deselect this in this case because all I want it to do is appear in my company and contact record, which when I've got form layout, I've got this customer selected here, and that's really critical. Finally, we've got the bind to other tools. So we want to bind it to other CRM entities. We've already got that. But if you want to be able to create tasks against this, or if you want to be able to create calendar entries and associate it to this SPA, then you should select the available options in here. Now I'm going to select all of these. If I click on save, that will then create my SPA. So hopefully that explains what all of the different options mean when you're setting up an SPA. The second step, what you need to do is think about what fields that you would like in your SPA. Okay, so if we click onto the hamburger menu and click on field settings, then this is where we can create our custom fields to record data about whatever it is that you're recording inside this SPA. So my SPA is to track licenses. So when I go into a company record, I want to be able to see the license key. I want to be able to see when that license key expires. I want to be able to see what product that the customer has got. So those three fields that I will create in my SPA. So if I click on create here, and then first of all, I'm going to select string. I can give it a new ID, and that might be good if you're going to start integrating with other systems because it allows you then to have a clear ID on the field. So we could say license key in here. So you can make it multiple, you can make it required, we can have it searchable. I've only got Bitrix in English at the minute, so that won't matter. And then these, if you want to create a text area field, then all you need to do is increase the row count, and that will make it a sizable text area field to put your comments in or your notes. It's not relevant in my case. So I will click on save, and there's my first custom field. Now what I want to do is I want to have a date field. So I'm going to call this one in the ID expiry, and you do need to put it in capitals. So we'll put license expiry date, and again I'll make that one required, and I click on save. And then finally I just want to have a drop down field in here, and I want to have product, and we'll call it Bitrix24 product. So our list values are going to be standard cloud, professional cloud, and then we'll just have one on-premise version on here. fact, we'll have one more. We'll have the 100 as well. Okay, so we set the list items in here. Again, I want that to make that required. Click on save, and therefore we have now 3 new fields. You can create as many fields as you would like in here. There isn't a limit. So when I close that down, what I now want to be able to do is set up my form layout. So the third step, click into the SPA itself. This will take you to your new licenses SPA. And then the first time you do this, you want to click on create. And here we can set out what we want this to look like. Now, I don't like to see the staging here because I've got it across the top. And I don't want the name to be manually entered. So I'm going to clear that. And we'll use an automation rule to be able to set that shortly. What I do want in here is I want to click on select field, and I can select one of the fields that exist. That's going to be customer. I'm going to therefore rename this section with the customer details in here. I don't want to be able to see the details when I create a new customer, and the address is irrelevant to me in this case. I am going to click on show always, so even if it's empty, it will show in this particular section, so I'll know that that data is not there. And then the second section I'll rename to license information. Again, I want to click on show always so I can see if it's empty. I need to be able to populate it. I'll just show you what it looks like if I don't. So if I select in here, I'll just show you what this looks like. So if I was to press, I need to actually put the license key date, 28th of this month, professional cloud, click on save. Now, because I didn't have the license key, I didn't have any information inside it, and I didn't select show always, that means it will sit in the background of this particular section if it isn't populated. So instead what I'll do is I'll click on edit, click on the gear icon and click on show always, and now what it will do, even if it's empty, it will show. That is my personal preference because it therefore allows you to be able to see what data is missing. So I'm going to put key and then click on save. So that's how we set up the form layout when you're creating your new, in this case, license entries in here. What I always recommend doing as well is clicking on configure menu and just hiding any menu items that you don't need to be able to see in here. So in my case, all I want to do is see general and any history of any changes that have been made in here. What I also like to do, again, if you're not using some of these, is to hide any items that you don't use. I'm going to keep task, I'll keep activity, and I'll keep comment. It just makes the view a very nice, easy to see what exactly you need to be able to click on. So that's what I would do in the initial sense of setting up this SPA. The other options of what you've got to do next is what process do you want? So we'll set this one to active license, and then we'll say 1 month until expiry, expired, and then we'll just add one more, renewed. So there we have 4 stages: active license, 1 month until expiry, expired, and renewed. And once you've set up those stages, that's the next step that you need to complete. And then the final one where we're setting this up is the pipelines. So we could actually have a pipeline for active license, and then we could have a pipeline for expired. And in here, we might want to add some follow-up might not want that particular one in here. In fact, we might not want renewed as the final stage, so I can click on the cross. And what we'll do is we'll have, and then in here, what we could do, sorry, this one in here, sorry. So expired, and then we can make a tunnel, and I'm going to, instead of copy, I'm going to just move it from one pipeline to the next. So if it expires, then we move it automatically into the expired license. And then we could again have renewed. And then we could. So this is hopefully, so if we move it from, not cancelled, sorry, from renewed into active. So when we move it into renewed, it goes back into active in here. So this is quite a nice process. Active license, we're going to move it to 1 month until expiry. If it expires, again, we'll move it into here automatically, and then it'll get into here. So now that you've set up your pipeline, so we'll just give that a refresh. We can now see active license and expired license. The final setup piece is the automation rules. So in here, what we ideally want to be able to do is to set up our automation rules based on the information that is inside the license entity itself. So currently we've got active license, so everything will sit in there whilst the license date is within range. So we could say move, change stage, click on add. And then what we will do is we will set it it's going to be 30 days before, and then we've got, if we click on created on expiry license date, so it nicely moves into 1 month until expiry, 30 days before our license expiry date, and we'll move it like that. So that's hopefully quite straightforward and quite easy. So click on save, and then I'll just give it a label so we know what it does. And then what we want is another 1 month until expiry. If we click on create, so I'll move it to 1 month until expiry. And then again, what we'll have, change stage, and then time, exact time is license expiry date. So as soon as it hits our license expiry date, we're going to move it to expired. And then finally, what we'll just do in the renewed, if we move it to renewed, then what we want it to do is move it back to active license. So it just loops back round each time. And that's it. That's all we need to do on that one. And then finally, what we'll do is we'll save this pipeline, and then all we need to do is move to the next pipeline in here. And what we might want to do in our expired license pipeline is add a follow-up. So in create, in follow-up, what I want to do is add an activity, click on here, I will say chase customer to renew license. And then in here, we might not want to do it straight away when we move it to expired. What we might want to do is create it 2 days after. So you can do whichever you want. I'll set it as current time at the minute, because then I can obviously show. Click on save. And again, what we could do is click on actions, click on copy, and we could move it to in here. That will then move it back I'll just change that a little bit because we want it to move it, not copy it. So if I go back into our pipelines, instead of copy, move, because I don't like multiple in one, then we can. So that's our automation. The final piece of this, if you want more information to show in the Kanban view, we can click on the gear icon, click on Kanban settings in here, click on view, and it might be that we want to know the customer, the Bitrix product, and the license expiry date. And we can see nicely that then adds it onto here. There was one more automation rule that I wanted to add, and I'll just click back into active licenses, and we want to modify item. Click on here, and then we'll just current time. So straight away, we just want to update the name field. And I want to update the name field to be in our smart process automation. I want to have the Bitrix product, and I want the company name in here. And then I just find the product on here. And we'll just move that before. Click on edit, and then we just want to run that in parallel, and that just means it doesn't have, it'll trigger at the same time of moving it to that if their license date was before 30 days at the time that we added it. So if I just move it out of here and then move it back, what will happen is if I refresh, you can see it's renamed it to Intraspace Professional Cloud. And what you can actually see is that it's moved it to 1 month until expiry because it's within the 30 days of the expiry date. So the 28th of June, it's currently the 9th of June at the time I'm recording this. So it's automatically moved it. When the 28th of June hits, it will move it into expired. That will then move it out of this pipeline and into the expired license pipeline. And there you have it. That's how it would generally work. So if we click into it, what we'll also be able to see, and when we bound this to a customer, we can click on the Intraspace customer record. And what we'll see at the top here is a licenses tab. And that's where it becomes quite powerful because your company record then contains all of the information nicely connected to it. So if I click on our licenses in here, I can see that we've got Interface Professional Cloud, and we've got it currently 1 month. We've got the records in here. If you didn't want some of these to show, then we can click on the little gear icon. I can remove the different items in here. Click on save, and you can see that information. So if a client from Intraspace was going to give us a call up, I could search in the company area of the CRM for that particular client and then nicely access the licenses tab and say, yep, your license expiry date is 28th, and so on and so forth. So these SPAs are really powerful addition to Bitrix, and it allows you to expand your use of the CRM. There are many, many uses for these different SPAs. We've got onboarding, we've got account management, we can see the return on investment on different campaigns. We've got a help desk within there. So again, if a customer raises a help desk ticket, we can go into the customer record and see all of the tickets that that particular client has raised. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into how to create these SPAs, in terms of setting up the SPA itself and what each of the items mean, setting up the fields that you're going to need to record the data for, so like I did for our license information in here. You then set up your stages and your pipelines, and then you set up any automation that you need to move it along. And then hopefully you'll have an SPA that records all of the specific information that you need and a process that nicely moves it along as and when you need to, based on any information within it. So hopefully you find that very useful. Thank you very much for watching. Please do get in touch for a full demonstration, or to find out more about this and other solutions, please go to intraface.com/solutions. Thank you and bye for now.